So you've tried everything, but you're still feeling stuck or blocked in your fertility. You've tried the supplements, the diet, that thing that your friend told you about, and yet nothing is changing, and your fertility is feeling blocked and stagnant, and you thought that you would be further along than you are right now because you've done all the right things. Maybe you're missing the one important thing. Maybe you're missing the root cause of what is happening with your fertility. Hi, I'm Erica, your fertility nutritionist with a rainbow baby of my very own. And in today's video, I talk to you about how to get unstuck, how to unblock your fertility, especially when you feel like you've tried everything. I definitely want to remind you that there is so much that you can do, and there's a way to navigate that blocked feeling and finally feel like you're making real changes and a real impact to your fertility. If that's something that you're interested in, this video is for you. So maybe you're feeling like you have tried everything. Maybe you even have at this point gotten an diagnosis, and you have a name for what is going on with your fertility. And you have tried this, that, the other thing. You've tried the supplements, you've tried the diets, you've tried things that your friends have recommended, things that other people have had success with. But yet and still you aren't having that success, and you aren't seeing your fertility change, and you aren't getting the needle moving forward like you thought you would. You definitely thought maybe that last one would stick. And you are now noticing that you are getting older, and your age is getting older to become maybe a first-time mom, or even that the age of your children, that gap is getting bigger. And that's definitely a stressful place to be at. And how do you navigate that when the clock is ticking and you feel like time is running out and resources are running out? And again, you've tried the things. They said do this, you did that. They said change this, you changed that, and you're still not getting pregnant. So what do you do about that? And how do you get unstuck? So by the way, just in case you're new here, welcome. And welcome back to everyone who isn't new. But I am Erica. I am your fertility nutritionist. And yes, I have a rainbow baby of my very own. And that has changed and shaped the way that I practice so much, definitely for the better. And I am so happy to be able to use my own story and my own personal experience to pour into my community and pour into my clients and help them navigate from a place of complete understanding of what you are going through. And so today, this video, I definitely want to talk to you basically about something that you should not be overlooking. Some key thing that if I had to put it in a secret formula, this would be basically at the top of the list. The thing that I think is the cornerstone of unblocking your fertility and getting out of that place of feeling stagnant. And that key thing is finding the underlying root cause. Because again, even if you have this, I was gonna say great, this great diagnosis, nothing is great about it. But even if you have this very specific diagnosis, it doesn't help change what you do, because that is, it's more of a what. You've just named it. You've named, okay, I have this thing. I have low AMH, or I have low ovarian reserve, or I have, diminished ovaries, or whatever, the labels are, right? And that doesn't get me anywhere. I knew something was going on with my fertility. Okay, you've helped me named it, but I can't do anything with that information. You still need to know the why. And beyond each diagnosis is a why. Okay, why is my AMH low? Excuse me. Why is my AMH low? Why aren't my ovaries able to produce and mature my eggs in the way that they should? Why is say someone's going in for a retrieval, why is my egg count low? What is going on with all of that? And the key thing in understanding the why of the why is that the answer is always a nutrition foundation. Nutrition is the foundation of wellness. It is the pieces, it is the key, it is the lock and key basically of healthy function. And when you have something like low fertility, it is definitely when you have something like low fertility, it's definitely an underlying cause of your nutrition being the underlying reason why. Because the nutrition allows the things that we consume and take into our body. You know, we are these beautiful biocomputers. Those are the pieces, those are the building blocks that go on to make your tissues and cells and organs and the proteins and the enzymes, and they fuel, and they go on to allow your body to function properly. And so when you have dysfunction and pathophysiology and misalignment, all these things that are the undercurrent of low fertility, because I definitely don't say infertility because it is, I feel like, the wrong word. But when you're suffering from low fertility, it is a matter of certain pieces of the reproductive system not being able to function properly. So yes, that goes to the name that someone has been able to diagnose it and say, this is what is going on. So then you have to understand, okay, what pieces are missing that are causing this to not function properly? Is it an issue of so basically, when I think about fertility, I think about supply and demand. I think about your body needing the right tools and the right building blocks to perform a certain task, right? If you're building something, you need the proper amount and type of materials that you're going to need to build that house. And without those things, you're going to either not build the house that you set out to build, or you're going to build a house that has, that's falling apart and isn't able to, be lived in, right? So if you think about that with something like fertility, is it an issue of there's not enough of the right stuff? Is it the wrong stuff? Are there issues that is preventing your body from being able to produce the hormones properly in the right quantities, in the right structures? Is it an issue with the tissues not being able to receive the signal properly because maybe there's something on with inflammation and there's tissue damage, within the there's things called oxidative stress, the things that we're all taking antioxidants for, that antioxidants are so popular for. It's to counteract oxidative stress and oxidation within our body. So is it something like that that's going on, that your body is now being, it has been harmed, and your tissues and your ovaries and your, all the parts that go into making your womb healthy, are those things not being able to function properly? So again, it's just basically understanding what the missing pieces are. And nutrition is always that thing that is going to give you the missing pieces. And so when we think about what we're consuming, it's either an excess of this or a deficit of that, right? And first of all, the world that we live in, the environment that we live in, the country that we live in, is not set up for our health success, right, to begin with. And so as an integrative nutritionist, I don't prescribe to the conventional medicine parameters. Basically, that wasn't my teaching. That's not how that's not the paradigm that I lived in, right? And so conventional medicine allows something to be this wide, like from here to here. That's good. Functional medicine says actually to have optimized, like, top tier health and wellness, it needs to be from here to here. And then when you're thinking about healthy fertility, it really needs to be from here to here, because really the world and the toxins and all the things, all the negative inputs in our into our healthy systems, those things are bound to have a negative effect. And so when you're someone who's suffering from low fertility, it's kind of it's just kind of the expected outcome almost, because it is, again, not being supported properly, and then it's being bombarded by harmful things all the time. So when your body is struggling to get or stay pregnant and you're having low fertility, it is kind of a result of what is going on in our environment, in our bodies, in our homes, in our health, right? And so it is about kind of flipping the switch on that and putting that on its head, and kind of making sure that your body is able to once again function the way that it should. Because again, the whole supply and demand, your body is needing to be supported in a certain way. Fertility, reproduction, having a baby, sustaining this second life within your body, that is seen as a luxury for your body. That is not paramount to survival, right? We need to keep this vessel healthy and, strong and take care of it. And so if there is a disconnect, again, with the supply and demand, there's not enough to keep you healthy. If you're someone who's suffering from body burdens, or someone who isn't, you know, who doesn't have the best lifestyle practices, if you're suffering from all those things, and then you want to add on growing a whole person inside of your body, and you are already struggling with your health, and it's not even like, oh, I have this thing. Like, I'm trying to think of a, not saying you have, trying to think of a diagnosis. Not saying you have like this major diagnosable issue, but still, if your body is struggling to, it's always in crisis mode, you're always in fight or flight mode, you are always stressed out, you don't eat properly, you don't move your body, you don't exercise, you don't sleep right, your digestion is off, your gut health is off, all these things, right? All these things are off. Your body's just trying to take care of you. And so when we are in the position of finding ourselves with low fertility, we need to address all of those off things. We need to address all those things that can be just impeding our bodies, the proper signal that says, hey, everything's cool, copacetic over here, it's safe to get pregnant. It is safe to sustain you and this growing baby. And certainly when we are trying to address issues with our fertility, we are trying to get pregnant, we are trying to stay pregnant, but we also want to have a healthy baby. So addressing those things is, getting pregnant is almost like the first step. And then, staying pregnant is like the second step, because of course we sometimes have the common issues of early miscarriage in the first trimester. But then even moving on beyond that, you're setting your health up, your pregnancy, your labor outcomes, and then your long-term health of your baby is all being established right now in this preconception period. So many parts of our lives we plan for, but then we go to have a baby and, what did our mama say? You just go try. That's what we were taught. We were taught to just start trying. Like, are you guys trying? Yeah, we're trying. Trying what? Like, there should be more to the idea of pregnancy prep. And certainly when we find ourselves with low fertility and struggling to get pregnant, struggling to stay pregnant, then it kind of makes sense. Like, okay, this is something I need to prepare for. If you're about to run a marathon, oh, you best believe there's some training, there's some, months in advance, weeks in advance, right? To prepare our body and even our mind, right? To run a whole marathon. Like, there's so many parts of that needs to go into preparing for so many parts of our lives. When we got married, that was a whole prep and planning piece, right? When you go to move, when you go to do anything, you change careers, you're doing all this research, but we were just taught to try. So it's kind of, not saying we were set up for failure, but so many parts of this fertility conversation, we weren't really taught what it takes to get pregnant. Cultures before us, traditional cultures, they understood to prepare the young mother or mother to be, maybe a new bride. They would feed her certain things that they had noticed and recognized support fertility. Those types of cultural know-how and knowledge, we don't really practice that now. And so again, we were just taught to try. We know more about how to not get pregnant than about how to get pregnant. We know how to keep our bodies from getting pregnant, but then we don't know how to make it happen when we're ready. And so many of us have been on birth control for so long, and so many of us have been avoiding pregnancy for so long, and by choice deciding to wait until later in our lives to get pregnant. And it shouldn't be criminalized or penalized. We should be supported equally as if, we are in our 20s. Yes, there is a decline in fertility as you get older, but not as drastic as we are led to believe, that 35 is a geriatric pregnancy, that once you're 40, it's not over till it's over. Until you are in menopause, there's still a chance to get pregnant. And then there is a way to slow down and kind of reverse the effects of biological aging. You can see the opposite. You see people who are like, they look way older than their age, excuse me. They look way older than their actual age, like they aren't aging well. And you can flip that and make it work to your benefit. Like, there is a way to turn your cells and have a have a younger biological age than what you really are. And certainly as it relates to fertility, if you're struggling to get pregnant, you should be doing everything you can to kind of reverse your biological age, your reproductive age. But it definitely takes tuning into your body, understanding your overall wellness, because fertility doesn't really only happen in the womb, right? We get pregnant, and we are just focused on, where the baby goes and the baby lives and the placenta is growing here and all that, right? Sure, but it takes whole body health to get pregnant. It takes a healthy. There's a thing called um, it's an axis, ovarian and like a neural axis, right? Because your brain chemistry is communicating with your uterus and your ovaries and all that stuff, right? And then of course there's thyroid health that affects your womb. Your immune system, how healthy that functions, affects your womb, because you are basically shutting off parts of your immune system to allow implantation to happen, to allow your body to accept this 50% foreign genetic material that is dad into your body. So your immune system needs to be working properly to not trying to think of a gentler word than destroy, but attack the embryo, right? The fertilized egg, and to make sure that your body is going to accept that, right? You need healthy gut, you need a healthy liver. All these things affect hormone metabolism, affect the all the pieces that go into making fertility and your reproductive health strong, and to make it be able to work well, right? And again, each stage is really important because all this preconception part, all of these things are leading you up to, okay, let's check that off the list. And it's kind of, it's building blocks to, again, you want to have also a healthy baby come out of all of this, right? So you need all these pieces to begin with. Each part of your preconception care, each part of your prenatal care is important, because there's certain time sensitive pieces that once that door closes, you can't go back and redo that part. The baby's growing, the egg is growing, beforehand. All these things are kind of snowballing, and once it's gone, it's gone. Once the train leaves the station, it has left the station. You can't go back and fix that thing, right? And so it's really important that at each key stage of your preconception health and your prenatal health, all these things are in place already. And because pregnancy is already such a huge train, it definitely takes a lot to grow a baby from scratch, right? And so because it already takes so much, you need all these stores of this to be high, and all these vitamins over here, and all these minerals, and all these pieces to kind of be topped off to have a healthy pregnancy and a successful pregnancy. You definitely want to make sure that you are starting in the right place. Reese, hello. Question from you. How can you prep your body for fertility? I have blocked tubes, and then I think you're still typing. I'll answer the first part if you're going to type a little bit more. It seems like you're in the middle of a sentence, but that is a great question. Thank you for asking. How can you prep your body for fertility? So because fertility has been studied the way that it has, there are so many known junctures and inputs of what it takes for a successful pregnancy, and what healthy eggs take, and how to have good quality eggs, and how to have good uterine lining, and how to make sure that your body is able to have the right signals for the hormonal kind of, it's like a, I was gonna say dance, but it's like there's like this sequence, and everything needs to be in sync and flowing properly, right? And so in order to prep your body, you need to first make sure you understand what deficits you're coming in with, right? To see what are already the body burdens. And when I say body burdens, I just mean, what's the crap going on already with your health? What are the things that like aren't quite right? Yeah, you are out there, surviving, right? But how to make your body and your health and your wellness thrive. Those are the things you need to check in on, because again, trying to get pregnant when you're already dealing with let's say pick something kind of easy, poor absorption, right? Poor absorption, poor digestion. How are you going to feed your body? Of course, the baby gets all the nutrients to the placenta. First of all, you have to build a great placenta, right? So you need to have all the things. I'm just saying hello to everyone who's joining. You need to have all the things to make a healthy placenta in order to feed the baby all the wonderful things you're going to have in your diet. But just think about that. So how to prep your body for fertility is just going through kind of like a checklist. And I do this with my clients of all the things that we want to make sure are running smoothly. You can do so many things like checking in with your basic blood work. There's other extra like hormonal tests that you can do. So many things to see what your starting point is, because everyone's starting point is different. Even someone who has the same exact, let's say again, back to my example of someone having low AMH. We can both have low AMH, but our reasoning and our causes for it may be different. The reason why my body stopped producing AMH well may be different from yours. And so you just need to figure out what is going on, because again, the key word of the day, the blockage, right? What is blocking it? What is keeping this thing from functioning well? And it's normally something in your health, your lifestyle that is either, so two things can be happening. Already there's a deficit on the supply that's coming in, or some other part of your health, some other part of your body, some other part of your system is demanding of those things. So it's not enough left to go around to sustain a healthy pregnancy. Because as far as, the criteria and the priority, having a baby is down here as far as your body is concerned, as far as, survival, right? And self-preservation. Having a baby is down here. So if there's something else is kind of drawing and draining on those things, it's not really, it's not enough to go around. And I think someone else said blood test is important. Yes, definitely blood tests are so important because you just need to know what your starting point is. Like, I don't lean very heavily on diagnoses because it doesn't tell me anything. It puts me in a ballpark maybe of like what might be going on, but it doesn't quite tell me the why. Okay, well, what specifically is happening with this person? How's the liver health? What are the liver enzymes looking like? The liver is very important for just like estrogen metabolism, and estrogen balance is very important because we're talking about estrogen and progesterone being the two main stars, right? You need to make sure that the testosterone is like where it needs to be. Like, all these different things need to be on point. And then thinking about like your red blood cells, right? We're talking about circulation and feeding the body and feeding your health and feeding the baby. You need to have healthy red blood cells that can deliver all these great things. So again, it's like we talk about the womb and getting pregnant and all that, but it takes the whole body being in a state of wellness and health. Another question, what do you think about fasting? Feel free to type more and like be a little bit more specific, but I think maybe a lot of people lately are talking about intermittent fasting. So I don't know, you just mean like for religious fasting, but fasting is not ideal for a reproductive body. It's not ideal. Oh, for healing. What do I think about for fasting for healing? I'm just gonna continue my train of thought. It does not, because fasting does so much to your blood sugar and blood sugar regulation and insulin, all those type of things, which then, because of glucose and insulin, all those things affect your hormones, and hormones is probably one of the biggest underpinnings of fertility. The ripple effect of that is really not supportive for a reproductive body. It definitely has, weight loss success and, all those type of things. But when you're talking about someone who is trying to balance their hormones, it is not as supportive as it would need to be. So I don't normally recommend my clients to fast. I don't normally make that as a suggestion, even though it has so many benefits over here in this column, but in the fertility column, not as many. So yes, okay. So prepping. So hopefully, I think I was talking for a minute, but I was just kind of just going over everything, but prepping your body for fertility involves finding your starting point, and then it's kind of like a stockpile, right? Like if you are um, preparing for whatever, right? You want to make sure your shelves are full and everything is topped off and as full as possible, right? Before you go on this, whatever's going to happen, right? As you're prepping, right? So it's just a matter of making sure that your body is as healthy as possible to prepare for the healthiest possible pregnancy, to kind of mitigate the risk of miscarriage, to mitigate the risk of negative pregnancy outcomes, to support the development of healthy eggs to begin with. It kind of all starts with the egg sometimes, right? So to be able to make sure that your body is, again, the checklist, making sure that at each checkpoint, we're good. Okay, move on to the next one. We rock that. Now make sure that the next bit is also being supported. Oh, you said thanks for answering. Sure, no problem. I hope that was helpful. Let me know if you have any other questions. Anyone else also? Um, so just making sure that we understand what is going on in our health, because the why is, as I'm trying to hopefully stress you, I just really think the why is the most important part. But why aren't I able to do that? But why is my body, is my cycle irregular? Why am I not ovulating? Ovulation is 40% of cases of infertility. Just because someone isn't able to produce an egg or have a strong, healthy egg produced every month, 40% of the cases. So it's not something genetic or anatomical or something like that. It's just that the egg isn't able to do what it needs to do. Okay, so what's going on with the eggs? What's going on with the ovaries? How can we kickstart things again? And for most of us, we weren't always paying attention to our fertility because we weren't trying to get pregnant. So we didn't quite see the day or the month or the year that our fertility started to slide. We most likely were at our strongest peak fertility when we were like 25, right? That's just how the number games goes, right? But even a strong, healthy, a 25-year-old couple only has a 25. I'm saying this right. A 25-year-old couple has a 25% chance of getting pregnant each month. So even then, the numbers aren't, staggeringly high, and then they just kind of go down from there. But not to say that when you're 35, when you're 40, that your chances are so low. It's just a matter of kind of hijacking the system back in your favor, right? Because your body, nature is on your side. Nature's on your side. Your body is meant to do this. Your body wants to do this. Your body technically tries to ovulate every single month, right? Whether the engine turns over or not, but your body wants to do this. And so it is just a matter of you, again, supply and demand, giving your body, supplying it with the things that it needs for this healthy pregnancy, supplying your body with the things that it needs to maintain the healthy pregnancy, right? To make sure that the signals are in place, that your body doesn't um, have health, so make sure your body has healthy eggs, because sometimes a spontaneous miscarriage could be because of that, because the egg wasn't healthy to begin with, and your body recognized that, and it needed to end the pregnancy because the outcomes weren't going to be favorable anyway. And so how do you get past all of those hurdles? Again, you just the idea of prep, going to the basics, supporting your body, supporting your function. Because again, going from survival to thriving, just because you are, going through the motions doesn't mean that you can't be healthier. Doesn't mean that your wellness can't be poured into even more. Doesn't mean that you can't be supported even more, because a lot of this is, simple changes, but maybe not easy. Maybe it's not something that you are used to doing, a behavior you're not used to participating in, something that you aren't used to focusing on, things you've ignored, things you've let slip through the cracks. Certainly when it comes to cycle health, a healthy cycle is the only way to a healthy natural pregnancy. A healthy cycle is the only way to make sure that you have the best chance each month of getting and then later staying pregnant. If your cycle is irregular in any way and you're someone who's struggling to get pregnant, that's low hanging fruit right there. That's something that's like easy, like, oh, that's like a very clear red flag. If you're someone who doesn't ovulate regularly, has a short cycle, has a short implantation window, doesn't have a lot of fertile days, doesn't have a lot of healthy fertile signs in the first place to tell you that your body is ready and prepping to ovulate. Those are all quick and easy signs. If you have a lot of PMS, spotting, weird bleeding, dark bleeding, heavy bleeding, all these things are like quick, easy, like alert red flags that tell you that your cycle already isn't healthiest for pregnancy. And so then when you're struggling with low fertility and struggling to get and stay pregnant, that is the clearest and best place to start. If you're someone who feels like their cycle is pretty healthy, then there's other places to look to make sure that you are doubling down and making sure you are getting everything where it needs to be in order to prep for a healthy pregnancy. So just making sure that you are finding the why, because there's known unknowns and there's lots of unknown unknowns. And that's where it is important to make sure you have the right support. You're making sure you are talking to the right people, not Dr. Google, making sure you have someone who understands the ins and out of fertility, the ins and out of healthy function, because that's why it feels like, well, I've tried everything, because you probably have, to the best of your knowledge, the best of your ability. And that's okay. It's okay to feel like, okay, but what now? I've done this and that and the other thing. So how do you go beyond that? How do you go and make sure that you have I'm just saying hello. How do you make sure that you have all the pieces that you need? Because if there are unknown unknowns, you may never uncover them. You may never stumble upon them, because again, we weren't taught how to get pregnant. And so trying to white knuckle your way through this is it's when we have finite time and resources, it's not really the best place to be. And so figuring out the underlying cause, figure out the underlying pieces of what is going on is really the best place to start when you're prepping for pregnancy and trying to reset your fertility, trying to go back, go back to the 25-year-old version of yourself when you had the best fertility, to go back and kind of fill in those gaps, fill in those deficits, whether it be through changes to your nutrition, something you're eating, something that you are missing out on, or maybe something that you are eating that you shouldn't be eating because it doesn't agree with your body, and therefore it is causing all types of internal inflammation and internal stress. And all those things have a domino effect all the way down through our whole body health. And then someone who's trying to get pregnant, low fertility is a symptom. Low fertility is a symptom of internal issues that, okay, this is just one fallout of this thing not going well, this thing not being provided, is your body isn't able to perform this thing, right? So if you are someone who has, think about small things, like someone who has eczema, or someone who has bloating, or someone who has migraines, or someone who has, those things we're not thinking about being connected to fertility at all, but it is a symptom, just like low fertility is a symptom. We have such an emotional attachment to low fertility that we probably don't have to having acne or eczema or whatever, but it still is a way that your body is communicating to you through symptoms to tell you, okay, something is not going right here. And low fertility gets our attention way quicker than having IBS might, but it is still a clear indication of dysfunction, of misalignment, of something not being the way that it should be for proper function, optimized health, and optimized wellness within your body. So being able to go back and kind of do like a reset to kind of start at the beginning. Okay, let's start at the beginning. What happened when did things change? And how do you kind of get back and walk back and improve your biological age so that your ovaries feel younger than what they are, and they aren't of course we hear the whole thing about the cobwebs and the this and that, but it definitely is a way to say that age does affect you, but just because you're 35, 40, 45 doesn't mean that there's cobwebs, right? You still have so many reproductive years left in you. If your mom didn't go into menopause till she was 50, you probably won't either. If she was 55, you probably won't be 55 till you go into menopause either, right? And so you have so many years left in your reproductive health. healthy years for reproductive health. And so to maximize that time, yes, that is important because time is finite, right? I won't say it's not important to think about how old we're getting, but it's not the end of everything, right? It just means you have to be wiser and smarter and use your time wisely and really kind of uncover and dig out and look under all the rocks because, again, the diagnosis doesn't get you anything. The diagnosis kind of just still leaves you kind of lost. Like, okay, now what? That doesn't help me. I need to know why is my body doing that. And when you know why, like you can't do anything about it until you know what it is, right? Having the name gets you somewhere, but having the underlying why. Okay, that's something I do about it. Oh, you're saying that I have low vitamin D, which is very common and popular and important for healthy fertility. That's something I can do something about, right? But if you are just kind of leaving me with not a lot of answers and a lot of options to move forward, that is not as helpful. So understanding your why is really important. So I just want to make sure that I left you all with um, a bit of hope, a bit of optimism, because feeling blocked and feeling stagnant and feeling um, basically hopeless and helpless and like having those feelings creep in is not a comfortable place to be. And I definitely recall living in that space and being in that space after my second miscarriage. After my first miscarriage, I kind of took it in stride. Devastated still, but took it more in stride. But by the time I had the second miscarriage, no, we were definitely concerned and definitely um, feeling that the importance of, okay, we really need to get to the bottom of this because it's you and your partner. You're navigating the space of how much more can we endure. If you're doing IVF, how much more can we afford? How much more? How much? What's happening here? What's going on? When does this all end? And so being able to start to see your way out of that and to have confidence in your body again and to see a light at the end of the tunnel. Because if you're just having failures and setbacks, you're still feeling like you're in the dark. So feeling like you're having some improvement, like some real impact, some real changes to your fertility. And because from my perspective and my training, it is all about whole body health. When you are starting to heal your body and have improved wellness in your body, your reproductive health is a piece of that. So it is kind of like a ripple effect. And all of those things go into sustaining a healthy pregnancy because, again, a healthy body is a fertile body. You are more likely to have better success if you're able to support your whole body health in the beginning, support your wellness and overall wellness. So in order to be able to have all those pieces in place is really important because it goes on to affect even your outlook and your optimism and your planning and your future planning for your pregnancy and your fertility, because you have to first, start to reset your fertility and then start to prep for pregnancy. Because the idea of trying, okay, we're past trying. We tried and I'm sorry, mama, you told me to try and that didn't work. So now we're in this space of prepping and actually preparing your body and improving your pregnancy friendliness and your pregnancy readiness, because it's not just going to be, overnight, and it's not going to just be boom. Your body needs to be open and supported in order to have success and to reduce the risk of miscarriage. Miscarriage is a part of life, where there's life, there's also death. So we are not going to be able to crack that code, right? But what we can do is reduce the risk and reduce the chances and reduce the common inputs that cause miscarriage, right? Okay, let's do our best to turn those off and remove those as best we can so that the chances are higher, right? Or I said they're wrong, but the chances are higher for success and the reduced chances of miscarriage. Let me know if y'all have any questions. I wanted to offer further support. Right now, I am opening up the doors for my 8-week program. This program is all about going from trying to thriving, right? In order to go from a place of stumbling around in the dark, doing this and that, but still not seeing any changes. Like I did that. I did the diet. I did that thing that they told me to do. I took those pills. I took that thing for 6 months and still not seeing those changes, right? To go from that space is really going to take addressing your underlying why. And you can't get that until you start asking the right questions. And that involves, again, pulling back the curtains, looking under all the rocks, doing some deep dive into your healthy function. A healthy body is a fertile body. So doing a deep dive into your health, your healthy function, and to find out the best ways to support your overall health, because fertility will then follow. And it's an 8-week program that I'm offering. I still have my full 4-month program, but this is more of a quick start, a way to get going. This is already March, and I definitely remember playing these number games of counting the months and counting the days of, if I get pregnant now, will I have a baby by the end of the year and all this. But so I definitely remember being there and thinking those things. And so we do, this is a calendar year. We are in the year 2025. And so we do have those thoughts of, what will happen by the end of this year. And so if you're someone who is wanting to get pregnant by the end of this year, you have to get started now. Healthy fertility takes time, right? It took time, actually. It may feel like it just poof disappeared on you, but it took time for your fertility to slide out of balance, and it's going to take time to get it back in balance. And so natural medicine is slow medicine, and that's a good thing, because it is adapting to your internal system. Is not trying to hijack anything. And so it does take time, and your natural way that you are ovulating takes time, because it takes depending on who you ask, but based on my research, it takes 120 days to fully prepare and mature and develop an egg for ovulation. So this is month 3. So by month July, is that 7? In 4 months, changes that you are making today, tomorrow, the next month, the month after, those changes will impact that egg in July. And so it is important to start small and to have really meaningful, impactful changes. These don't have to be things that change your life and you're like on some crazy schedule and on some crazy diet and all that. Quite frankly, it doesn't take all of that, because our body is so sophisticated. It just needs the proper support. It doesn't need some special thing, that you got to order, you got to whatever, it just needs the right support. And it should be things that feel natural to your body, natural to your lifestyle. Someone going to bed on time, that should feel natural. It's not something that is going to, flip your life on its head, but it will take dedication. And sometimes, sometimes we're the most incentivized group, right? So it is something that, will take some getting used to, maybe, to adjust your schedule and adjust your lifestyle and change your habits over here and tweak this over there. But there's small changes that have big impact. And that's what's it's kind of cool about my job. Like, that nutrition is like the basis of all of this. That is just, these things that your body uses as building blocks. It's just input. Food is information, right? But we also consume so much all day long, right? It's not just the foods that we eat. We consume all day long. And whether it be things on social media, whether it be things in our home care products, like, our body is absorbing and taking in all these things, right? And so it's just a matter of getting in, making those fixes, things that will work for you, not just what your coworker did or what your sister-in-law did, right? And so it's just a matter of figuring out what those pieces are. And so with the 8-week program, I guide you through all of the key steps, the key inputs of healthy fertility, to first address egg health, or at the root of it, to address egg health. And there's so many inputs. There's whole body wellness, there is cycle health, there's hormone balance, and finally there's egg health. All these things kind of coalesce at the bottom. And because once you ovulate that egg, the clock is ticking. Okay. Once that egg is off and she's fertilized, yes, I said once that egg is off, you have not a lot that you can do. There's things you can do during the 2-week wait, and we can talk about that if you join the program, what you should be doing during the 2-week wait. But yeah, once that egg is ovulated, so how do you make sure the egg is healthy? How do you make sure your hormones are ready? How do you prep for all of this, right? That's what we talk about in the 8-week program. If this is something that you're interested in, feel free to DM me. I also have a link up in the bio that you can check out on the website and just read through all the bits and the pieces to see if this is something that you want to start doing now. Because again, it does take time, right? None of this is going to happen overnight. So starting off small, starting off with support from someone like myself who has been there, and I am very happy every day to be on the other side of this and to feel like, I overcame this thing. I never claimed the title of infertile, but whatever it was, I am cured, right? I definitely am using that wrong. I know that's a very strong word, but I do feel like the changes that I made, I was able to adjust and shift my fertility out of that phase of low fertility, and was able to have my beautiful, healthy, crazy, loud baby. That, of course, I can't imagine my life without her. I'm going to end now, but I wanted to end on this quote from The Infertility Cure. This is by Randine Lewis. This is a quote from her chapter entitled The Myth of Infertility. There is no such thing as infertility. It is a myth. Rarely have I met a woman of childbearing age with all her reproductive organs intact who is incapable of bearing children. As long as the anatomical structures are present, a medical diagnosis of, and she puts in quotes, infertility is often a fallacy. Many factors can cause a woman to have difficulty conceiving, but once these factors are overcome and a woman's body is restored to health, conception can occur naturally. Leaving you with that, I basically have like a permanent bookmark in this book because I reference that specific quote very often. And that is also my belief system. I don't really love the word infertility anyway because it is not the absence of something. Hypofertility would have been the best thing to label it, but they didn't ask me. And so to struggle with or have challenges with, that's more appropriate. And it definitely is a way different conversation with someone. Okay, I understand that you're struggling with your fertility. Okay, let's talk about that. Yeah, I am struggling. Can you help me? Versus is something that is wrong with you, there's something that is broken. That leaves a very different taste in the mouth, and it is approached differently, and you internalize that differently. So my encouragement to you is to shake off that label. You are not infertile. You are having a reasonable reasonable, although undesired, side effect to the world that we live in, the society that we live in, the environment that we live in, and your body is having a reasonable reaction to that. And so our goal is, and I say all are as if I'm already there with you, but when I'm working with my clients, that is definitely our goal. So I want that to be your goal too, to be able to slow down, zoom out, take a look at the big picture, take a look at your whole body health, all of the functions, all the bits and pieces that make you you, and figure out what's the best place to start. What is the lowest hanging fruit that is causing your overall health to suffer, and that could therefore be causing a imbalance, a misalignment with your hormones, with your health, with all the things that go into supporting natural, healthy fertility. So my encouragement to you is to just dive deep a little bit. Don't feel like it is over. I don't know how close you are to giving up. I don't know how close you are to throwing in the towel. But I believe, as Dr. Lewis believes, that every woman is capable given the right support. And I would love to be a piece of that support for you and with you on this journey. Thank you so much for joining me on this video, and I definitely hope to be able to support you. I will be honored to support you on your journey, but if not, feel free to come back and follow along for more. I will see you on the next video.